It's a lot better. Hey, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of Gaffing the Truth, where the storm did not beat us again. Great.
Right
Uh,
on.
It is raining though here in Houston.
let's see how it goes. Yeah,
Yeah, we're getting some up here too.
Yeah, it's getting chilly here in Austin. So, yeah. Welcome to the show. My name is Jeff with a G. As always, I'm with my good friend, Scabs the Clown. How's it going, Scabs?
Man, it's going. I've been all right. Not much to brag about. Played some frisbee golf and ate some crawfish over the weekend. That's pretty much it.
Yeah,
so it was a good weekend.
There you go. Yeah. And then we have a special guest for this show, all the way from the Immortal Wrestling Federation, the officer, Marcos Perez. How are you doing, officer?
I am doing great. Thanks for having me on the show. Just got off work, and that was interesting. But I'm happy to be here, and let's talk aliens.
That's the idea. So we're gonna be having fun talking aliens, and like me and Scabs. I mean, we every other month we talk about aliens and try to have fun people, and so we're glad to have you on the show.
Thank you.
And so as you are the guest, what would you like to discuss concerning aliens?
Oh man, you guys kick off, and I'll just go along for the ride. But I would like to warn you, and I warn everybody else whenever I get into this topic. You get me started, I'm probably not going to stop. So I'll try to apply the brakes here when I can.
Okay, well, I got a good one. I got a good one to start with, and it's a specific alien.
Okay.
His name was Max Moon.
God. Oh,
I
man.
looked this up specifically for you. I found a list of wrestlers that are considered to be somewhat alien by their gimmick. Okay. They even got Papa Shango on here. Fucking Mentor, the Boogeyman.
I think you were the only one. I don't know if it was you or somebody else when we had the thing at the Capitol. And you had that dude that was showing up in all the pictures with the horns, and I'm like, see, I said, this is where you messed up. You grabbed a bunch of '90s like bad gimmicks to storm the Capitol, and it didn't work. And Mantar, you got him right here front and center as the guy that's running the show. But that's all. What other ones are on there?
God, there was the Yeti,
Arachnaman,
Oz.
Okay.
Looks like he's from Wizard of Oz. Oh my God.
Yeah, Kevin Nash.
Wait, played by the it was Kevin Nash featured movie like The Twister and the Emerald City Side Slam.
Oh yeah, okay.
Santa Claus.
Okay, now they're stretching because Santa Claus was basically I think that was Balls Mahoney, wasn't it? And
it was.
Balls Mahoney, and he was I guess a plumber version of Santa Claus, or
man, it's been forever since I saw that. But
he was the evil Santa Claus. I guess he was Krampus before Krampus was in.
Yeah. They've also got Damien Demento. Because he was billed as hailing from the outer reaches of your mind.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Adam Bomb.
From 3 Mile Island.
Christmas Creature.
That was Kane.
It looks like Kane.
What about the great resident from Planet Stasiak?
Sean Stasiak. Yeah, Planet Stasiak.
Mm-hmm.
AKA
Chairman Ramu.
Yeah, Meat.
Which one?
Chairman Ramu. Looks like she's from Japanese wrestling.
Oh yeah. Okay, I wouldn't have gotten that one.
Yeah. Oh my God, the Kiss Demon.
Yeah, they're stretching. Kiss Demon. That was and you can correct me if I'm wrong. WCW had an agreement with Kiss.
Yep.
And it was to do that live performance they did on Nitro that one time, but part of the agreement was also you have to have a main event wrestler whose gimmick is being a Kiss member, and you have to highlight him at all the pay-per-views. So because they wanted to honor the agreement, but they didn't want to jack with the main event, they had to bill every match that he was in as a special main event, so they could get around him not being in contention for the title.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was cheese, but
something to fill up time.
Yeah. And I think I mean, I don't want to talk trash about anybody's in-ring performance, but from what I understand, it was kind of rough to get through those.
It wasn't the worst. At best, he was meh.
Yeah.
At best, the problem was they keep putting him with people who were like far better than him, and that's like
right.
So a middling wrestler being put at like this was also WCW for the time. So unless you were in like a cruiserweight, everybody was just kind of like jacked up, weird stuff like that. And he had Dale Torborg as the kiss team in the middle, so he ended up doing a lot of stuff with like Vampiro. Because
Vampiro. Yeah.
Okay, speaking of Vampiro, the last one on the list is Gangrel.
Oh, Gangrel, yeah, because
vampire.
He has a vampire, but okay, whatever. Supernatural creature, I'll give it to him.
So you named all those people, and the one person that I would have figured would have been in the top 3 or top 5 was not mentioned. The Shockmaster. Wearing the Stormtrooper helmet.
Yeah,
that's God.
But
I like how for the picture of the Yeti, they have a mummy.
No, that's He said that was.
He was.
Yeah, it was.
Reese. Yeah. Did you hear the podcast where they talked about the Eric Bischoff podcast with where he was talking with I forget his name, Conrad Thompson. And they were talking about the Yeti. And I don't remember if this was true or they were just BSing, but they were saying something about trying to see if they could get Charmin to endorse the Yeti. And Conrad says, like, do you think the gimmick would have done better if you had him cutting promos? So Conrad does the impression of the Yeti, and he's always like, I'm the Charmin Yeti, and I don't take shit from anybody. And then Bischoff comes back with, or we could have just done it where like his signature move is he uses like his bandaged up hand to get blood off of people. He's like, it's cut because the toilet paper's rough, so he's cutting people. Yeah.
That's
great. God. These are
great. Yeah, that was the list for that. I just wanted I thought that'd be funny just to bring up with you.
Good deal.
But let's get into something. Jeff and I actually kind of had the same idea because it's one of the oldest, one of the most well-known stories, and there's a lot of weird controversy behind it. But like these people had no reason to lie or anything. Betty and Barney Hill.
Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want me to chime in on that?
No.
It's the original abduction story, or at least the original modern abduction story.
Yeah.
It was.
I agree with that.
Yeah, July 20th, or no, that was their born date. But when did this happen?
1961.
Let's see. 1961, yeah. One of the first like well-known ones, one of the first like people where they came out and like, this is what happened to us. There's a little bit of everything in it. Missing time, regressive memories, hypnosis, all kinds of weird shit. Weird markings left on their bodies or even in, like around their genitals and everything. And the reason like it was really controversial is because they were a very early on interracial couple, and that wasn't a thing back then. People were kind of still stupid about that, so they were like, we don't want this kind of attention, we just want to know what happened to us.
Yeah, that was one of my, I guess that was, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people, that was like the first case they ever read about. I don't remember the name of the books, but I remember being a kid, and of course, everybody else was checking out Maniac McGee and Where the Wild Things Are in school, and I'm here 6 years old checking out books that had to do with all this kind of stuff. And I remember reading that one, and that I mean, it fascinated me, but at the same time, it creeped me the hell out. And they had the pictures of the sketches of that. Betty was able to, I guess she drew them after she went through hypnosis.
I think so. I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, and that's how she was able to also draw the star map to Zeta Reticuli, and then she drew the picture of the alien that she saw, and I'm like, oh wow, that's pretty. I
forgot about the Zeta Reticuli thing. Like when she wrote that, like they were like, whatever. We don't even you just kind of drew some dots, and then later, like it was like 10, 20 years later, they were like, wait a second, and it just matched up perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
It was all part of the what they call it, the first official thing other than newspaper reports, a thing called the Interrupted Journey, which is what Barney wrote with with an author about their story.
Mm.
That was in 1956 when they made that book.
Yeah, they were coming back from what is it? The Hills were driving back to Portsmouth from vacation in Niagara Falls in Montreal. Basically, they were like, we need to stop, take the dog out for a walk and, just kind of move around a little bit. Betty was looking through binoculars and observed an odd-shaped craft flashing multicolored travel lights traveling across the face of the moon. Because her sister had several years earlier said she had seen flying saucer, Betty thought it might be what she was observing through the binoculars. Barney observed what he reasoned was a commercial airline traveling toward Vermont and on its way to Montreal. He was very much a skeptic. He did not want to go out with this. Like, he didn't believe that's what happened. He was very confused about it. But like, that's another thing that's really weird in these situations. She was like, oh, my sister saw a UFO. And it's really a common thing for it be like a family line that'll see a UFO. The UFO will like abduct like the great grandma, and then there'll be stories of everybody through the family since then seeing a UFO.
Yeah, and to that, one of the things as a kid that used to really creep me out as I kept reading about that kind of stuff, and it's interesting you brought that up because, when you look at your life and you're like, okay, where am I going to be down the road? Of course, you're like, okay, am I going to live in a house? Am I getting married? Yada, yada. And just having the imagination of a kid, you're just like, man, I hope I never marry anybody that's abducted by aliens.
Yeah, right.
Because, and you read and then as I get older, it's like, I don't know if you guys ever read I believe the book was called, I'm looking at it right here. It's on my shelf. Witnessed, the Bud Hopkins book.
No, I know the Bud Hopkins story, but I've never read the book.
Check it out. It is Witnessed is the name of the book. It's crazy. It starts off with case that lady gets abducted in Manhattan, I think, but she's beamed out of her window, and everybody that's on I guess I don't know if it's the Brooklyn Bridge or where it was, but there's like hundreds of people that like just saw the beam coming out, taking her out the window as it was happening. And it's just this crazy story of like different things upon different things just happening like crazier and crazier. And it's like later on, she finds out that she's been abducted since she was a child. And these cops that were happened to witness her, it turns out one of them had been abducted with her, like as she was a child. So it sounds almost like something out of fiction. But yeah, check that one out if you get a chance. But anyway, I'm sorry, digress.
No, you're fine, man. Like, this is what this show is all about. We go off on tangents all the time. This is what it's all about.
Yeah, but what I was trying to say was it used to freak me out because it's like you read all these stories of stuff like that, and then of course Whitley Strieber, and it's like, okay, I am experiencing it, and now my kid is going through the same thing. He's having the same nightmares, same stories, and it makes you wonder, what's going through their heads, like, when they're finding out, okay, I've been going through this since I was a kid, and now my kid is like randomly talking, about a dream that he had where he's seeing these little insect people coming through his window. Do you reassure them that that's happening? How do you explain that to a kid? Okay, well, this is actually happening. It's scary, but this happened to me and there's no shaking it. And odds are you're going to pass that on to your kid. And it's just, again, this is the kind of stuff that why I'm afraid to talk to this kind of stuff with people, because it's like, I get really deep into it and it's like,
okay, maybe you know this story then. I was just trying to look it up. I can't really think of what her name was, but there was an old religious woman, and her and her family were at home one night, and the aliens, like, they see a UFO, and everybody in the house is frozen but her. And they take her, like, the aliens come through the wall, and they were like, they said they're hungry for they're hungry. And she like tried to cook food for them, and they were like, "We can't eat this food unless you burn it, but we're hungry for knowledge." So she gave them the Bible, and the aliens like absorbed all the knowledge in the Bible and then took her to a different dimension, all kinds of crazy shit. What was her fucking name?
I don't know the name, but see, here we go, Scabs. You just opened the Pandora's box that I don't know you wanted to open about the whole meddling religion with the whole the alien thing, and
we are all about that, man. That is, we love that shit.
I've had this theory for years, and it started when my dad, he's born again Christian, and he's been into this stuff for since he was a kid, and it was just fascinating. But then when he started going to church, it took on a whole new, I guess, aspect or perspective for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just looking at it from the surface. I mean, take every abduction case at face value, grain of salt, whatever. And his whole thing on it was like, okay, here's these things coming into people's houses, forcing them against their will onto these crafts. Some of them are pregnant; they're getting their babies taken from them.
Oh man, you want to take alien hybrids sometime?
Yeah, stuff, and then they turn them into crossbreeds and all this stuff, and he's like, and his attitude on it is like, does that sound anything that would be cool to anybody on this planet? For like, let's say your next door neighbor comes into your house, pulls you kicking and screaming out of your house, takes your fetus, and then puts you back, and then I don't know, drugs you so that you don't remember. It's like, so why is it cool for wherever these things come from to do that? We're against it here, but it's okay just because you're from another planet.
Because they had the agreement with was it Eisenhower?
Eisenhower, yep.
Yeah, it was Eisenhower. They had an agreement with Eisenhower, and they were like, we can give you these technologies, and we can abduct so many people. The aliens broke that treaty and started abducting more people.
Right, and then they couldn't at that point. They couldn't. It's like we can't do anything about it. Pretty much, it's like they're going to keep doing their thing. But I mean that's his whole attitude on it. Is like, so, and then he always said, okay, look at. He said, just look at the face of this thing. He's like, does that not instill some kind of, I guess, primordial fear in you? And it's like you have people that are just they see these things, and whether it's something that's being induced by the aliens or just our body, not being able to cope with this thing, so we freeze up and then we just can't move, and they come and impose their will on you. So all that stuff, taking all that into account, my whole thing was like, okay, well, so how does religion play a part in this? And I remember we had a friend from church that we came to visit one time, and she was reading a book on Nostradamus. And it just so happened that one of the chapters was talking about aliens. There was like a prediction on aliens, and she just had it there. And my dad saw it, and he's like, "Well, hey, what's all that about?" And she just laid back and started telling us, "Oh, well, I was just trying to read up on anything about them because I saw them a couple of days ago." And that was like, holy crap, yeah. So I always had this like, wait a minute, like as a kid, I'm like going to church, going to Sunday school. I'm like, well, why would God let this kind of stuff happen to people, Mm-hmm. And then as all that kind of just stews in your head, like years later, I'm like, okay, well, so what's the correlation? Why is it that you're getting people abducted, but none of them ever seem to be like the typical Bible thumper, born again Christian going to church. It's always people that are practitioners of New Age religion. So I started doing all this research. I was like, what's the correlation? Why is it that you're never hearing, like devout practitioners coming forward with alien abduction cases? And I'm sure there probably may be, but in my searches, I have really yet to ever find one.
I think it's a lot of people
change the language. You have to change the language because it's not abductions from aliens. They're because it's like we talked this before. Other stuff is like how our brains process stuff. We go with relatability things. So sometimes when people see something like could be an alien or like that, their mind can't process alien, but they may process it as seeing an angel or saying that their uncle so-and-so who died years ago took them up to do stuff because that's how their brain
what if the Metatron is just an energy being? And then they're like, you know, they're like, are you an angel? And he's like, yeah, angel. That's what I am.
Right. And we can get into that later because I have my opinions on not only that, you know, but also, you know, if we want to get into like dimensions, I firmly believe that heaven and hell are not they're actual tangible places, what I feel. And I feel that they're dimensions as opposed to this, oh, we're only going to be able to see this when we die. I think that we could probably, I mean, if you ever want to put some kind of an explanation on near death experiences, I think that people can attain these planes through, I guess, some kind of altered state of mind. You know, if you want to go into like the way the Native Americans used to do their whole practices where they would take the hallucinogenic drugs or whatever to reach that state of mind. And they're like, oh, well, I saw this. And, you know, the average person
that was
like,
Native Americans, that was South Americans, that was Egyptians, that was everybody. And I mean, like, you know, even us, like I've taken, you know, hallucinogens and had somewhat religious experiences.
Right.
Like, it's weird.
And I think I think that's, you know, where that comes from. But as far as what I was getting at, as far as the religion thing, I don't think it's strictly, in my opinion, and I'm still trying to piece some of this stuff together myself, but I don't think it's strictly, you could look at it from a Christian, you know, non-denominational, Catholic, whatever. You can't look at it from that aspect because I actually came across a couple of cases. One of them was from someone that was practicing Christian who claimed that they were getting abducted and they were a repeat abductee and they knew all the signs of when it was about to happen. And apparently they came into her room, they started picking her up and she's freaking out. And she just randomly blurts out at the top of her lungs, you know, God, please help me. And in the middle of the abduction, they freeze in their place. And if I remember correctly, she says that one of them told her, as you respect him, so shall we respect you. And it stopped and she was just suddenly in her bed. And she said it never happened after that again. But then I also came across another one where it was a woman that was Hindu. And again, repeat abductee. They come into her room and she notices that, I mean, normally any other time she's completely frozen, but I think in this one particular instance, she said she could move her pinky. So as she was moving her pinky, I guess to maintain her focus, she started reciting some kind of Hindu prayer. And as she was doing that over and over, like she just kept reciting it on repeat, she started noticing that movement was returning to her whole body. So slowly it started with her pinky, then her hand. Then she was able to move her eyes left and right. And as she's recalling the story, she's remembering all that's happening. And when she's like, oh, any other time I wouldn't have remembered when they were coming in to get me. But she said she noticed one came over and was trying to, lock in on her. And it wasn't working. So then another and another and another before eventually she had like 6 or 8 surrounding her trying to get her to stop. And they're like, if you don't stop, we're going to come back and get you even worse next time. And she just kept reciting the prayer and eventually they gave up. And she, I think the story ended where she just wasn't abducted anymore after that. And
I've heard similar stories to that, like, but with like sleep paralysis, when a lot of people will have sleep paralysis and see demons or monsters or something, and invoking the name of God actually like gets them to back off or gets it to stop completely.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, you can, whether you're a believer or not, it could be you. Some people
Jeff said atheist. I'm an agnostic, but we're respectful to everybody who's respectful
to
us. So.
And I'm the same way. I'm not gonna try to convert anybody, not my place. And I am the first to acknowledge that I'm not the best practicing Christian myself. But
that makes you a good Christian by admitting
that. Yeah, we're not perfect. Contrary to what some other people in the news might tell you or may have you believe.
You have a weird golden statue in your house of a politician.
No, I don't. I don't. Right, we're good. I don't. That's all I need. But I mean, whether you think that that's what's actually helping, or maybe you're just could be that you're mentally focusing on something other than the fear that you're experiencing that pulls you out of it. I don't know. And that's what I always like to preface or end these kind of discussions with, when people that are, not necessarily believers in abductions and stuff like that, like, look, whether you believe in aliens or not, the fact of the matter is this person thinks this is happening to them. So it could be either it really is, or there's some kind of psychological disorder going on with them. But in their mind, they think this is happening.
Well, yeah, I always tell people, I go, I'm very much a skeptic and all this sort of stuff, but I don't like people still experience something, and so I want to give them at least the credence that they did have an experience.
Yeah.
And now, eventually, we may figure out what that experience is, but what that experience is to them is just as real, regardless of whether or not of how actually real or whatever it is. So I still be respectful of the experience to people.
Right. And that's good. I mean, I think that's the best way to also kind of get people to maybe, okay, well, if that's going to be your attitude about it, you're going to be, if you're telling me this fantastic story, but even you are kind of like open to the possibility that it could be something more grounded, then maybe I can give it a chance. And
yeah, And my also thing is like I want to believe in this stuff. I do. I just I haven't gotten the thing to have me to do it. So I like hearing about it and like I still and
just
also
like,
I
want to believe aliens built the pyramids, but I'm pretty sure it was just humans.
I want to believe, but I'm terrified at the possibility of what would happen if it was true. That's my stance on it.
And there's also that conspiracy that religions, like big religions, like like the Vatican and all kinds of stuff, have suppressed the knowledge of aliens because it would cause controversy for a lot of their beliefs.
Don't even get me started. Look, okay, so this should give you an idea as to why I'm the kind of Christian that I am, because even I, to this day, don't trust the Pope. I'm like, no, you know what? There's parts of me that respect the tradition and the traditions that the Catholic Church brings, but there's just way too much stuff that like I'm just like, nah. I mean, I was raised Catholic, and I look back on the life that we lived, or when we were trying to practice Catholic, confession, all that kind of stuff, and I'm like going to church and feeling guilty when you didn't go to church, or feeling guilty when you accidentally bit into a hamburger during Lent. And I'm like, I feel so sorry for people that like, or kids that are brought up in that now, because it's like, I mean, and I'm just happy to be non-denominational these days, because it's just
I understand that more than organized religion. Just like believe and have faith, but like don't put a name on it.
Yeah. I mean, I still like going to church, maybe just because of the positive message, and then you get the good vibes with everybody there. The people that legit go there to, because they want to do good. But
so, can I ask you like kind of a weird, kind of serious question?
Sure.
How would you feel like if you just found out one day, like turns out God's an alien? Because I've thought about this a million times.
That's one of those that I'm not ready to deal with yet. It's I'm open to the possibility, but it's okay. Again, this goes even further down the rabbit hole. I mean, there was I don't remember. I'm sure I have the link somewhere, and I'll try to find it in the mountains of emails I have. But there was one where it was, I want to say it was something along the lines of, I was linked to it through the Blue Planet Project documents. And one of them, it had something to do with some guy that was like trying to say that there's more ties to religion and the UFO alien phenomena than meets the eye. And it's like there's a lot of stuff that you could kind of, I forget the term he used. It was, I want to say techno sorcery or something like that was the term that he used, trying to say that their technology is a hybrid of sorcery, but I guess he was trying to lean more towards, no, there's religion, there's god devils associated with this kind of stuff and stuff that we can't. The explanation
is
that
a lot of people will call. We were talking about it a minute ago, like the aliens. They're like, oh, demons. I saw demons, but they were just they might have just seen like tall grays or something.
Right.
That's how they process it. And the Arthur C. Clarke, noted science fiction writer, 2001, et cetera, says with enough technology can be so advanced, it would be indistinguishable from magic to a lesser being. So,
right. And I get that. This guy was straight up saying, no, there is no science behind this. There is science in the sense that, oh gosh, it's so hard to explain. It's kind of,
dude, all this shit is so hard to explain.
Yeah, so like but what I'm gathering is fact is the trappings are scientific, but the actual methodology of how it does things is not. So it looks scientific, so it does not perform scientific things.
It's almost like, I guess, the way it was explained, it sounded almost like something out of like a science fiction fantasy type story, where he's like, okay, these things actually are, they have advanced technology, but these things are fueled through stuff that's, I don't even really know how to explain it. It's just, he's just trying to say that he's saying that there is like an aspect of this that it requires faith. And
try to explain to somebody that there's a theory that that UFOs travel by creating a black hole in front of themselves that sucks them through space.
Yep.
It's so like there's so many theories about this stuff that like it's hard to explain technology we don't have.
Yeah.
Unless you write Dune.
Well, and even then, it's like how do you write? It's not even just technology we don't have, but like that's like 6 steps ahead of anything we have, even close to becoming that. And
it's a theory that's like we don't even know how to do that. It's like we've got the Giant Hadron Collider that probably ended our dimension in 2012, but whatever.
Yeah,
that's a whole other story right there.
That's fun. No, that's funny that thing doesn't even get like a blip in any news. It's like, oh, by the way, we turned this on and something happened, but you got to tune in at 9 to find out what that was.
Yeah. And it turns out we don't know what happened, but a thing happened.
Yeah. Oh, this thing just appeared and it was cool.
Like we saw a demon face. Weird.
Yeah. Oh, so now let's talk about and gets into something about Trump or something like that. No, go back to what we just heard. I want to know what happened.
Yeah.
What portal did you open?
Yeah, right. What's going on?
No, that's still a continuation of the story.
But it's crazy. I spend so much time trying to figure out like what are the connections to all these things, and that's, I guess, in a sense, how you determine you I guess in our own ways how we can rationalize what could be considered true or what could be considered BS or what could be even considered disinformation. Is you take all these cases together and you say, okay, what's the common ties in these things? Okay, what sounds like it could be real? What sounds like it could be just an interpretation from the person retelling this story time and time again? Kind of like you were saying with Betty and Barney Hill, they were. I think that was one of the ways that they thought that their story was true, was that despite all these years and constant retellings of the story never changed.
Yeah, it never changed, and Barney was very against talking about it. I mean, obviously, he's the black guy. He's the one who's going to get in trouble, sadly. So he's like, I don't want to bring this up. I don't want to be in the spotlight. I don't want people to know we're an interracial couple. Like, I don't want that kind of attention. But, Betty was adamant about it. And she's like, we need to find out what the fuck happened to us. So that's how it all came out.
Also, Barney was also a World War II. He was a World War II vet.
Mm-hmm.
And he was actually
he's a mailman too.
A pilot too. Yeah, he was a pilot as well. So.
Let me ask you guys this, because I had this conversation with my dad a couple months back, and it was, I don't know if it might have been through an old Coast to Coast episode or some YouTube video I saw where I only ever heard this here. I never heard it in any of the, I guess unsolved mysteries or sightings or any of those shows that
any of the cool shows that aren't on anymore.
Right. Yeah. But I never heard this anywhere. And then just randomly, someone had talked about a transcript of one of his hypnosis sessions, and
okay,
he and I think the topic had to do with the whole Nazi bases on the moon type thing, and apparently in one of his when he was recalling one of the sessions, he's recalling what happened, and he says out loud, this guy's a Nazi. He goes, I'm looking at his uniform and he's a damn Nazi. And he's claiming that, I don't know if one of the aliens was wearing an insignia that looked like the swastika, or if he saw somebody on the ship, but that might have been in uniform. But he says that, and it's like weird. I'm like, and like, how come? I mean, is it just because it's too weird to like have it appear in any kind of mainstream? Because again, you'll be okay. Well, what does a Nazi have to do with aliens?
Well, and that's the thing. Hitler was obsessed with Nazis and all kinds of weird stuff, or not obsessed with like aliens and all kinds of weird stuff. They had the bell that was supposed to be a time traveling thing, and a UFO that they acquired. Yeah, like it's fucking wild.
Now, to be fair, Hitler's brain
I only had that
rotting
right there
from the
because we
inside
talked about it like
due to
last week.
syphilis and mustard gas. So there's that with what his obsessions were. So it got kind of crazy as his brain was being eaten away by disease. But but the Nazi stuff is interesting. When it comes to like listening to because I listened to a few, like actually quite a few of these like regressive hypnosis and tapes for alien abductions and actually for other stuff. A problem with some of them is the fact is the leading questions that are being asked by the hypnotist makes it very troubling on what is actually being witnessed, or they're having, or whether or not these people are having a guided sort of thing. Now, I'm not saying about the Hills, because Hills, as I mentioned earlier, the Hills were the quote unquote original modern, at least the modern like publicized.
Modern's definitely a better way to put it, because I mean, like UFO stories go back.
Well, yeah.
I mean, there's cave drawings of UFOs, if you want to believe that. There's Victorian paintings of UFOs. It's fucking weird.
But it's gotten like actual press coverage, is what I mean. It's like there's actually press, so that's what
Other than like local wackos sees lights in the sky,
Yeah, I mean, and like this is like Project Blue Book from Air Force opened because of this, because of the case and other stuff. So
I've always kind of looked at. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But like looking at like the regressive hypnosis, which has since been debunked for lots of other reasons because of leading questioning. But it's interesting because after the first like pop culture moment, which was the Hills, for lack of a better term, the similarities on everybody else's cases since then have skyrocketed since this pop culture phenomenon happened. Before then, a couple of pieces here and there of stuff would be kind of similar, but not nearly as similar as it happened right then. So, are these people actually experiencing all these things, or their brain is trying to process something else, but this is the closest equivalent they have to it? It's like why you don't see a lot of extremely religious people talk about abductions, because in their mind, they're not being abducted by aliens. They're talking to God. So,
and I'm gonna find that. I'm gonna find that story. I'm gonna send it to you, Marcos. Like, because it's fucking wild. Last podcast did a really good in-depth thing on it. If I could find those episodes, I'll totally send them to you. They're really good.
Cool. Yeah. Appreciate it.
I'm also in no way saying that abductions aren't happening. It's fact is, but I question like some of the stuff, like the idea, like some of the stuff people say are abductions may not actually be abductions. That's just how they process it. And then there's abductions happening as well, and those are probably a lot more normal than probably what these abduction stories are probably being told to us now. I don't think everybody's getting probed left and right. I think people are just having a rough Saturday night and trying to explain it to their kids.
Daddy saw bright lights and then passed out in his car on the side of the road for some reason. Woke up several hours later.
I can't remember. Yeah, what happened?
It only felt like a minute to me.
It probably still was a minute to him, but just, I mean, didn't know Daddy was down low.
What do you guys think about? I mentioned him earlier. What are your guys' thoughts on? Well, first off, I've always I've broken it down a little differently, and I don't know that I'd be right in doing this, but when you guys say it's like what you guys say that the Betty and Barney were modern. I kind of always looked at them as like kind of I guess break it down into two kind of times where like it's Betty and Barney. Then it was all the reports, and then you kind of had the whole contactee craze coming up, where like Star Child and I've
been looking for a Star Child replica skull because Star Child skulls are really fucking weird.
Oh yeah, they've already that's already been.
I know it's been disproven, but I want one of the replicas because they look super cool.
No, yeah, the Betty and Barney happened a while, then it kicked back up from Fire in the Sky and Communion and stuff like that.
Okay, so that's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say, because like for me, I feel like it was them. Then there was like all the cases and contactees, and then for me it was like, okay, modern. I kind of attribute modern to Whitley Strieber Communion, and I feel like.
Fair. I mean, but the fact is, like when you look at like our modern age, as I like to call it, like anything 20th century on is considered modern age. And so when it's part, it's like something like the Hills story is very much part. It was like that first instance in pop culture where aliens.
Right. I mean, also there was the documentary Paul. Did y'all see that one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think
there's a line in there like, he asks him like, "Why do you look like?" just like an alien that I see all the time. He's like, because I've been drip fed. Yeah, that right there. He's like, you've been drip fed my face since the 1970s. So when you see me, you don't pass out and piss yourself.
That's very true.
It's funny because I gotta be honest with you. I guess I didn't like that movie too much because I thought when I first saw it, I thought it was going to be part of the Cornetto trilogy. And I was like,
because it had Edgar wasn't part of that story, so
right. And I was kind of like, because they had been hinting, okay, well, we did Shaun of the Dead, then we did Blue Fuzz, and they were like saying, okay, the next one's going to be a sci-fi movie. So and it was, but I was thinking, okay, the sci-fi was going to be Paul. I'm like, okay, well, here it is, and I watched it. I'm like, comedy wasn't. I guess it wasn't pure British comedy. So it was like,
well, I mean, they had Seth Rogen in it, so like Seth Rogen was the voice of Paul. So
yeah, he was Paul.
Yeah, so they had like the American to bounce off of. But yeah, I get what you're saying because like Hot Fuzz is one of my favorite movies.
That's
like that movie.
Yeah, it's a good one. Like that's a great movie.
It is.
But
it is like
but it's like, I guess what you were saying is funny. You say that because it's like you hear all these, and. I don't even remember where I've heard it, but it's kind of like that they're supposed to be, that's how they're going to eventually prepare us for whenever they decide to show themselves. Is like, okay, we're all gonna sprinkle in our faces and pop culture and merchandise and kids shows, and then when we come out, oh, you're not going to be freaked out by the way we look. And I think I could swear I've even heard some people that have asked that question in the middle of an abduction come back and saying, oh, that's why they don't just show up on the White House lawn, or they haven't done it yet because we wouldn't be able to handle it, or at least that's what they were saying years ago. Now I think we all pretty much expect that aliens are going to show up looking like Greys.
Yeah, I mean, when there's obviously ET out there too.
And Wookiees And
Wookiees and like literally everything from the Star Wars universe.
Kang and Kodos.
Kang and Kodos.
Don't completely.
Yeah, I mean, we've got it. Like, we've seen it. Yeah.
And
we've been drip fed all kinds of different things, but is it just, artist imagination or something that, is there?
The thing that bothers me about all that too is I can't have these kind of conversations. Of course, these days you can't say anything without figuring out how it's what are the political ramifications to it. And here we are now, killing each other just because one side is blue and one side is red. And then you got to wonder how that dynamic is going to change if you introduce, ET into the picture and knowing what people like us.
That's what, but also like a lot of these alien conspiracies are coming back into reference again because, like Trump was very adamant about the Space Force and he was like, oh yeah, we need a Space Force. We fucking need it. And people are like, there's aliens. And then like just the CIA has fucking, released a whole bunch of their shit. And they're kind of like, they've kind of drip fed us like, hey, so there's a whole bunch of crazy shit going on in the government. By the way, aliens are real. So we're going to go look at puppies now. And, but they pretty much said like, they've done full disclosure. They said there are off-world beings is what they're calling them.
Yeah, there are unidentified objects that do exist out there, which we currently have no explanation for. That is the official term. That's why UFO is they're unidentified objects. They're unidentified things. We don't know what they are. So we're just going to be open and say, we don't know what that shit is. So here it is.
Yeah, we know they're intelligent. I mean, Russia just released their shit. It was really funny. Russia released like, hey, our Air Force saw these, has got this video of this thing. You remember that? Like,
what is it? Was that 2 years ago? Was it? No, okay. What I might be thinking of, where was the Rendlesham incident?
Rendlesham, that was Rendlesham Forest. Rendlesham has a whole bunch of shit like fucking murderers and no, Rendlesham. I'm thinking of a different place. Rendlesham, that was Great Britain.
Okay.
Yeah,
but that, again, that's another country that's like, oh yeah, nope, yeah, this is what happened, and it's like everybody but us. Like I'm gonna say like, hey, we're denying it, but why is Mexico like, oh yeah, today 6 o'clock news, there was a flying saucer flying, and then tune in next week for your 2013 Chupacabra watch, and it's like it's on.
But also like I wish I understood Spanish a little better because Mexican news is fucking lit. Like, they got like a hot chick dance in the background and like a little person comes running across the desk. Like I've watched Mexican television just for the fuck of it, or because my coworkers were watching it, and it is great.
We used to.
This is the news. Here's a half-naked woman. Yeah.
The funny part about it is my grandmother, when she was still alive, she'd call us, hey, come see this, and we come in, and it's just like all this ridiculous stuff, and it's like this is gonna happen, and it's like. Sometimes you had to wonder if you were accidentally watching like Weekly World News or something on Spanish channel because like but the news said it happened, so it's true, and I'm like, no, it's not, and you're watching
Spanish media is just as bad as American media. It's okay.
But I mean, I even still, even as like growing up in my culture, it's like, man, people from here must think like Mexico's Narnia because there's
you know what? I've dated some women who had some abuelas who were like just like spirit shamans from Narnia for whatever fucking reason. Oh, I don't feel well. Put this egg under your bed. Okay.
Yeah.
Put this lettuce on your feet. Yeah, like okay.
It was the
grandma,
egg.
Love you. Good night.
The thunderstorms would hit, and all the Virgin Mary candles would get busted out. And I laugh now, but now that my grandmother's gone and all that goofy stuff's out the window, I kind of miss it, and I catch myself saying, God damn it, I need to go get some Mexican lottery for one Saturday when we're just gonna stay home and. We're gonna get some Virgin Mary candles and have some conchas with coffee and just sit around and talk gossip like the good old days.
It's like, I don't feel well. Who's gonna sing to me? Anybody?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Who's gonna say "Sana sana colita de rana"? But no, it's No, getting back to all that, it's just, the whole thing with where were we?
But like, okay, going off that, like, Mexican Spanish culture, you go like old school Mexico back to like Aztecs and everything. They talked about reptilian beings. The Mayans talked about reptilian beings. Most tribal religions had reptilian beings coming up to them and giving them knowledge and teaching them things. But in modern religion, the reptile, the snake, encouraged Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge, and that was a bad thing. So the reptilians giving knowledge back in tribal religions is the complete opposite of Western religion, where it's like, no, you don't need that knowledge. You're not allowed to eat that. And the reptilian was the tempter.
I think that the Chinese kind of have something along the same lines too, don't they?
What's that?
Pardon me?
The Chinese also kind of had something along the same lines.
Yeah, too, the dragons brought knowledge.
Dragons did help bring knowledge, yes.
Well, dragons brought a lot of things. That was an explanation for a lot. But dragon, reptilian.
Snake,
reptilian. Well, I mean, what was it? We talked about this once. The Hopi. I don't know if they've changed their name or not. I know a lot of other tribes have changed their names recently. But the Hopi, they believed in the ant people from inside the earth that came and brought them knowledge. And a lot of people think that's where the Hopi ended up. That's why the tribe just kind of vanished, because they went into the earth with the ant people.
Now you got me like, I'm trying to like put a face to any of the races of aliens that supposedly live inside the earth.
Well,
we've done inner earth. We've done inner earth, but Agartha is fucking wild.
Yeah.
Agartha is the world inside the world. That's where the green children came from. That's where a lot of religions talk about beings from inside the earth. It's wild. I love inner earth theory. Inner earth theory is way cooler than flat earth theory.
Yeah, because flat earth theory, you just fall off. So what's fun of that?
Yeah, right? There's just waterfalls everywhere. Or there's also the other theory that basically it's an ice plane and we're a puddle, and in the middle of the puddle is Earth, where we are. But if you get on top of the ice plane and you keep walking, you'll find other puddles with other worlds.
Or we're just on the back of its cosmic turtle floating through space.
Yeah. Thank you, Egyptians and Stephen King.
Okay, because I was like, okay, where else have I heard about the turtle?
Well, turtle. Stephen King was the one who brought it into modern parlance, but actually, that's an old theory as well. Like, it's not even the true Egyptians.
On the back of a turtle walking through space, basically.
Yeah.
And
he brought
Stephen King, the turtle was from the turtle was from from the Dark Tower series. The turtle's mentioned a lot throughout his whole book, like all of his books.
The turtle is the force of good versus the force of evil, which was basically it. So like the two forces.
Yeah, the cosmic being, because it was a cosmic turtle.
Yeah, that's what I remember. Someone had pointed that out.
The rhyme, see the turtle of enormous girth, on his back he holds the earth. Yeah. That was from Stephen King.
You're not even that drunk yet. Hey.
No, I'm not. Here.
So I want to take you guys. We were talking about Strieber. What are your thoughts on him?
A man who is known for writing. Whitley Strieber, the guy who wrote Community.
Oh, Whitley Strieber.
He's also the guy who wrote things like Wolfen and a lot of horror novels before he did Communion. And for him, he himself has never stated aliens. He always said it was other. He always called them visitors because he didn't know what they were, and he didn't want to taint anybody with one viewpoint from one way or another. Because these strange unknown forces, these visitors, came upon me and did all these things, and the things they did are, very both. One is being things that are very noticed by a lot of abduction stories. But also hypnagogia is also, which is the sleep paralysis, could also be explained for what had happened to him too. But he actually wrote 4 books about it, his experience.
Mm-hmm. And I have Communion and I have Breakthrough.
You got Transformation was the one he did after that. So, And transformation actually, because he goes, yeah, they messed with my brain and stuff like that, and so he went and got brain scans and all this sort of stuff, and they found nothing wrong. But he included his brain scans in transformation.
Wasn't there something like and I could be wrong, but wasn't he promising something else was going to happen in that book too?
It's been forever and a day since I've read those books.
And, I think when he wrote one of the other ones, I want to say when he was in the middle of Breakthrough and he was hyping up the third one, he was saying, "Oh, something." I don't know if he was claiming that he was gonna like get himself abducted again and try to like ask, I guess, tough questions or something like that, or I don't remember what it was, but
Communion was like in '87. He wrote that book. He wrote that in '88 was Transformation. Breakthrough was in '95, which was basically it was him going basically it was like, all right, cool. It's been like 10 years. This is what I've discovered while that 10 years has been since I wrote that book. Then he did a thing called a reflection and context, and then Secret School, which he examines strange memories from his childhood. Oh, and then he wrote a book called Solving the Communion Enigma: What Is to Come, and that might be what you're thinking of.
Yeah. I just I liked the books. There was a lot of cool stuff to take away from it. Breakthrough bugged me. I guess because just I guess a little brief history. My parents introduced me to the movie first before the book.
Dude, Christopher Walken's fucking amazing. Yeah.
And you know what? People like I've seen reviews on it, and I'm like, I've seen Strieber, and I've seen everybody knows Walken, and I don't think I've ever seen. They're like, oh, like he got it on the nose, and I'm like, I've never seen Strieber that insane for someone that's claiming to be abducted by aliens. So it's like yeah, okay, whatever. You got Walken in there, whatever. But
perfect.
I like the movie because to this day I still say I feel like the movie is probably the only movie that's gotten the way the aliens look as close as possible. Like everybody else takes, even Fire in the Sky, I feel like kind of took creative liberties on their design.
They did, and also Fire in the Sky, like that movie terrified me as a child because it said based on a true story, and I was like.
And then you read the actual story, and the story is like way cooler than what was in the movie. And if I remember correctly, I think Travis Walton was trying to like sue them for not sticking to it.
Yeah, but I mean, he sold them the rights. He got under
he got his money,
and
yeah. But so I watched it.
Also, there's still people that believe he was just on a bender for a couple days.
Yeah, they're like, okay, and think that he got with them to like, I guess, stage the whole story. And
yeah, it's like, fuck, we didn't know it would blow up like this.
Yeah, real quick before I forget, that he was on an episode. Oh God, I don't remember what the show was called. Remember that show that used to be on Fox where they hooked you up to a polygraph? And it was always all this scummy stuff about you having an affair with
the lie detector.
Yeah, he was on an episode of that, and they were talking strictly about aliens.
No shit, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it's like if you made it all the way to the end, you won $1 million or something like that, and they gave you the polygraph, and they already had the answers before you went on the show, but you didn't know what the answers.
It was called The Chair. Sorry, it was called. John McEnroe was the host of it. I now remember. Yeah.
I don't remember. Yeah, I just know it was on for like maybe like 2 or 3 seasons, and then I guess people just got tired of how scummy it was, but because they knew the answers.
I remember not really being too interested in it. I was young when it came out, I'm sure.
And it was I think it came out maybe I would have been and it was all this stuff like like people finding out that they were getting cheated on and they're admitting it in front of everybody.
What's weird is also a little bit around that time there was actually a syndicated I don't want to say talk show. It was talk show called the Lie Detector Test, which was very similar, which wasn't about money. Which maybe you might be confusing the two. The one that was not about money was hosted by a comedian by the name of Rick Fox from L.A. Which I thought was really weird because I saw it. I go, dude, that's a comedian. What the hell is he doing this weird show? But then they had the Fox at Night had I think it was called The Chair, which was like a game show that you would do like a lie detector test for. So it
Let,
was
let
like a
me
true
let me
game show.
tell you what. I'm gonna see if I can find it, and I'll send you the link to it. I know it's kind of obscure, but
I mean, shit, we've degenerated enough. We're actually a little over time now.
Yeah.
We got to let you go, or
I mean, we usually do it for about an hour. I mean, we can talk after. It's fine, but we don't keep people stuff like that. So let's get plugs out of the way. Let everybody enjoy their lives elsewhere. We can keep talking once we get off air. So Officer Perez, what do you have to plug for everybody?
Well, if you want to. I'm still trying to figure out the format. Like I was saying earlier, I'm trying to figure out the format on how I'd like to talk more about this kind of stuff over at the Immortal Wrestling Federation page. Of course, if you're a wrestling fan, come on down. You'll get to see videos of me and a lot of the IWF Warriors in action. Right now, we're actually working on a program that should be we'll be revealing the date hopefully after this weekend of when it will hit. But yeah, look us up on Immortal Wrestling Federation on Facebook, on Instagram, and Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I've worked with you guys before, and it's always been a lot of fun each time. I get my ass beat, and I feel like shit the next day, but like it's fun.
It's wrestling.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's wrestling.
Yeah, he can take a leg drop off the top of a ladder like the best of them.
Oh, that's good.
And he missed and hit me in the face. I saw stars, man.
Yeah,
wrestling's real, y'all. It hurts.
I cringed when I'm like seeing him climb. I mean, I didn't think he was gonna like botch it terribly, but I was like, this could go wrong. And yeah, I was just like, no, I think I may have actually turned away when it happened.
It was good to take a little rest during all that. I just kind of rolled over and I was like, oh, fuck, I'm seeing stars. Okay, give me a second. I'm dead. Don't touch me. Just laying there, just taking it in. And I touched my face and I'm like, okay, nose isn't broken or bleeding. Okay, all right, get back up. I'm going to go spear broken.
But it was a great match. It's you watch. There's just some that like, I know like a lot of people like to watch their own matches and stuff, but that was one that I like. I'll still go back and I'm like, I liked my match, but I actually would say that I actually enjoyed the match that you were in a lot more than mine.
And I loved watching the whole thing. Like, watching you guys is always a blast. Like, I'm kind of bummed when y'all are around the corner from us at Creepy Hollow and I can't like run over and see y'all because I don't have much time between shows.
Yeah.
But still, like when y'all are right there in front of us, sometimes it's always the best.
Well, we were hearing. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying. I had heard a rumor that something might be changing for this haunt season. I'm not sure, but I'd been told that there's a possibility that we might be able to do more than one show during the haunt season. I'm not sure that me being. By the way, I'm actually temporarily up here in Crestview, Florida, and hopefully planning to come back home permanently. The date on that is tentative right now, but when we do, we'll have more flexibility on those kind of things. But right now, yeah, there is a possibility that we will be able to come back for at least more than once during the haunt season.
Nice. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. No, yeah. So everybody, make sure you're watching this. Make sure you go check out Immortal Wrestling Federation, the officer Marcos Perez, and all the other great people that have been on the federation. I went and saw a couple of the shows early on. I watched some of the stuff online. I've enjoyed it. So I'm like
nice.
old school. I'm an old school wrestling nerd. I grew up on WCCW. I grew up on the Von Erichs. So.
Oh wow, yeah.
So
that was actually before my time. Believe it or not, I had to go back to learn about them because I would just hear about them from my uncles. Old Houston wrestling. All those guys I didn't know about, and then it wasn't.
Every Von Erich that died, Dallas shut down. This is not hyperbole. Like that's
I've
big
heard.
of a deal they were. That's how big of a deal they were in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So yeah, I look forward to seeing more stuff from Immortal Wrestling Federation. And you're weirdly in Florida, where two major promotions are also doing stuff there. I'm not putting conjecture that you're trying out for anybody, but I just figured.
Oh no!
Just give you some.
I'm 40 years old. I have no intention of going on the road and trying to start a career at this point. Nah. I'm happy with IWF, and I tell my guys, hey, if we make it together here. Now, if you guys want to try it out, you want to go hit the big time, cool. I'll support you, but I'm happy being local, even if local isn't really local for you guys right now. But
yeah, I mean, y'all do a lot of just charity fun, like y'all. Yeah, IWF is great.
No, it's good. I said I really enjoy the show. Houston, Houston's got a hopping wrestling scene, so definitely check out IWF and the other federations that are actually in the Houston area. Yes. So Scabs, you got anything to plug?
I've got this really fun game that I started playing where I just drink in different rooms. So yeah. But no, that's it. I got the show next Saturday, stupid live stream for stupid people. I don't have anybody booked right now for that, but I got somebody. I've got somebody for the week after. Yeah, but yeah, booking's weird right now, but I'll have somebody.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. No problem. Cool. So because me, I don't like being bored. So Wednesday night, I've got the Devil's Hour, my weekly variety show. I've got some really cool acts. I've got from Houston. There's a band called FaceTime. So I've got doing a performance from them. I have Chicle, who is this amazing clown from out of Puerto Rico, and then I got a band out of Australia named the Psychedelic Porn Crumpets. So they're gonna be a lot of fun. On Saturday, there'll be another edition of Souse, which is my drinking trivia game, where the goal of the game is not if you're going to get drunk, but when you're going to get drunk. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And then on Sunday, I got booked to be in a show. I'm not just hosting shit. I get to be part of a show. So I'm part of this thing called a mobile request live from Anime Allure out of Kansas City. Does a twice a month show, and so I'm going to be doing some stuff with her, doing some weird mentalism tricks and stuff like that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And then you'll see us all. You'll see both me and Scabs again next week at 7:30 Central Standard Time, right here for Gaffing the Truth. We'll be gaffing some weird truth. So everybody, be cool, be safe, be lovely, and as always, keep drinking.